So today we have a very special guest who has not only cleared the Supreme Court Clerkship Examination 2021, but also had the privilege of working with Honorable Mr. Justice Anirudh Bose until his superannuation. Welcome, Anurag.
Thank you.
Welcome to the platform of EJLA Law Academy. So, Honorable Mr. Justice, after his retirement in the year 2024, is now the director of the National Judicial Academy, Bhopal. And his experience, Anurag's experience with working with Honorable Mr. Justice Bose had been a journey which offered him a wealth, insights. It has been a very insightful journey. And I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of candidates out there. So we welcome you, Anurag, and we are really looking forward for a very insightful session and where you can just, tell us how the experience has been while you served as, the Supreme Court clerkship. So आपका experience कैसे रहा? So welcome. Once again, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Kritika ji, so much for inviting me at your esteemed platform. I'm actually very excited to, share my insights on the preparatory strategy for this upcoming exam on 9th March and to share my experience and role as a law clerk of Supreme Court of India.
Great. So, as we all know that the exam is scheduled for 9th of March, and I'm sure that this session is going to break down the exam scheme. We are going to share some key preparation strategies and also provide some exclusive tips from someone who has already been there. So I think let's get started. Let's get started. I'm sure most of the law students, they dream of getting at the front row seat of the Supreme Court's working. But few of them actually get the experience to get it firsthand. And as a law clerk of the Honorable Supreme Court, you were there right at the heart of it. So observing the advocates and assisting the judgment writing and being with the Honorable Justice and working so closely with all these honorable judges in the Honorable Supreme Court. So could you just take us inside the world and share what your experience was? Yes, over to
Okay.
you, Anurag. Thank you.
So, being the law clerk of Supreme Court of India, so our work was divided into two parts. First was to attend the court proceedings, wherein we were required to prepare notes on key hearings. Some hearings used to take a long time or a detailed hearing, and arguments were there. So we have to take notes thereof. And then after the court winds up, we have to attend judge's residential office, where our main work was to prepare the briefs for the next day hearing. And the case files were there, online, offline, both. So we have no issue to work either ways, whichever is suitable. And in addition to that, the notes which we prepare in the court proceeding helps us to cross-check the orders, the draft orders that were passed on that particular day when we attended the proceeding, to ensure, the orders, they record the facts, the narration, the arguments, the ratio of the court appropriately. And lastly, if required, so honorable judge can assign us any particular topic to do research on, and then we have to submit that research memo also. And if you get lucky, so you can also be assigned to work on a particular judgment with the honorable judge. Like there are certain matters which are reserved for judgment. In addition to order passing is one thing, but pronouncing judgment is another thing. So for when a matter is reserved for a judgment, so you have to work with honorable judge. You can also enter into some discussions, you can share your valuable insights also with the honorable judge at a cup of tea or coffee, and to work along with him on a particular judgment. So this, as you already mentioned to me, that majority of the viewers are judicial service aspirants. So this role, particularly this one as a law clerk, will upskill their judgment writing skills also, which will help them to clear their judicial service mains exam.
Absolutely.
So this is
Great.
brief about the role of a law clerk at Supreme Court.
ग्रेट ग्रेट सो इट मस्ट बी मतलब वो जो होराइजन है और जो स्कोप है वो बहुत ज़्यादा वाइड हो गया होगा इफ यू लुक इनटू द बिफोर एंड आफ्टर you served, and I'm sure like even the aspirants who are preparing for the judicial services examination and have been giving repeated attempts, they must go for this job, and I feel that this is not a job, this is a learning experience. So
Definitely.
yes, so absolutely we can just feel that working so closely with the honorable judges and drafting the judgments absolutely will help in the mains examination, as you mentioned, Anurag. Thank you for that insight. Before we dive into the preparation strategies, let's start with the basics, I feel. So, could we just break down, or could you just give us a clear breakdown of the Supreme Court clerkship examination? Like, uska kya structure hai, kya format hai, kya uske key components hai? So that we just get an insight and a clear roadmap to how you have to go for the Supreme Court clerkship exam. Over to you.
Okay. So this exam is divided into two parts, or rather two stages. First stage is further divided into two parts. First part is objective based, MCQ based question paper, and the second part is subjective question paper. The first part, the MCQ one, it will be in online mode. It comprises of 100 MCQs on various areas of law, and it is again beneficial for judicial service aspirants because whatever major laws they are studying for the judicial service exam, the same major laws are also covered in this examination, like Constitution of India, contract law, CPC, the new criminal laws, and other miscellaneous minor laws. In addition to, they will also have to attempt some English comprehension passage also question related to that. Now, after the students or the aspirants have completed this part one, then the same day they have to attempt part two also, the subjective part. The subjective question paper is of 3.5 hours, wherein 3 hours will be for question writing, or sorry, for attempting the answers, and half an hour will be for reading. This
Mhm.
second part comprises of 300 marks and contains three questions. The first question, that is the most important one, brief preparation, comprises of 150 marks. The remaining two questions, which wherein one deals with drafting of a research memo and answering one analytical question, comprises of 75 marks each. While
Mhm.
answering analytical question, there are five choices. Out of those five questions, only one has to be attempted by the aspirant. So again, that analytical question is similar to answering the mains question paper of judiciary. Again, it is helpful for judicial service aspirants to prepare for this exam and uh, you know clear it with flying colors. Those
Mhm.
candidates who are successful in stage one will qualify for stage two. Stage two, that is the interview stage. Interview is generally taken by Supreme Court judges themselves. So it is my humble advice to the viewers that they should focus particularly on their CVs, and whatever is there in their CV, they should be thorough through it. In addition to that, they should be updated with the legal trend, the legal affairs which are there in the legal field. They can take help of live law, bar and bench, and other similar search engines to remain updated. After interview stage, those candidates who clear both these stages, they will be required to fill a list of the sitting Supreme Court judges on priority, that with whom they want to work as a law clerk. Accordingly, wherever the vacancy will be there, they will be called. And then again, a brief interview will be there, wherein questions will be asked from them about, their uh, graduation period, or about latest trends in law, or if you are going to a particular judge, so you must be thorough with his or her judgments which has been passed in recent times. So in
Mhm.
this way, this is the breakdown of the entire schemata of the examination.
Wonderful. That is a complete pattern. So we understand that the first and the second part are on the same day. एक ही दिन में
Yes,
दोनों पार्ट होंगे और जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है that is conducted through online mode. So any
yes,
candidate throughout the country can appear in the exam right from their hometown. They don't have to travel down. That's what
yes,
yes. So they can
yes,
do it from online. Great. And जो उसका first part है that is objective based. And जैसे आपका first part complete हो जाएगा उसके बाद ही आप जो है सेकंड पार्ट पे आएंगे और सेकंड पार्ट में एज यू मेंशन कि जो पेशी ब्रीफ राइटिंग है दैट्स द
yes,
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एरिया राइट
yes,
राइट and after the first part then the students who have qualified would be called for the interview. So did you take any special preparation for the interview, obviously we're going to come to the first part as well कि आपने क्या preparation किया, but interview also needs preparation and it has to be a guided approach. A guided manner में आप interview के लिए appear हुए होंगे, I'm sure. And after the interview, we understand कि जो बच्चा interview qualify करेगा, उसको फिर जो है list दी जाएगी to choose from the honorable judges, and as per the vacancy, the child will be called. Great, that's wonderful. So now we have a clear understanding of the at least the exam pattern. So now let's just talk about the preparation. Right, with the exam approaching on 9th of March, so we are really eager to know that how did you strategize your studies? What areas did you prioritize? And which were the techniques that you followed and which worked the best for you? So we want to know in detail about the first part of the paper, that is the objective and the subjective, and after that the interview as well. Over to you, Anurag. Thank you.
So, see, as far as the objective-based question paper is concerned,
Right.
the aspirants have to focus primarily on whatever they have studied in their, 5-year, 3-year undergrad. You just
Okay.
need to go through your legal textbooks. In addition to, since majority of the viewers you already mentioned are judicial service aspirants, so they
Right.
are already prepared. So whether they or any other individual, you just need to practice as much MCQs as possible. There are several books which are available in the market. Even your own material is there available, Efficacious or Judicial Academy's material. So aspirants can also, go through that, which will fuel their preparation and will increase their chances to both get through the first part. Now, if we come to the second part majorly is subjective. I will in this session explain that how to prepare brief, how to answer a research memo drafting question, and then as far as analytical question is concerned, so your viewers are already aware since the majority of them are judicial service aspirants, right? And in this paper, see, there are 3 skills which are tested. The aspirants' research skills, to what extent they can provide a quality research within minimum limited time period. Second is their drafting skills by requiring them to draft briefs because that is the main work of a law clerk. And the third is their analytical skill. That if they are asked a very quick question, so what is their response? How quickly they can comprehend or they can summarize a particular material or any particular case law. So on these three skills, they will be tested and their fate will be decided accordingly. So my again advice to the viewers is that they should be prepared to work and to utilize the main research engines available like SCC Online, Manupatra, and there are other UK and USA based search engines. So they need to go through them, that understand that how to search on these websites, on these portals, because they're expected to do that as a law clerk. And apart from that, I will tell you that for this exam specifically, Supreme Court's initiative is that it has uploaded a list of case laws on its website, which aspirants can go through. And aspirants might face a problem that how we can have access to these judgments, since they are by and large available on SCC Online or Manupatra like portals. So there is another initiative of Supreme Court, that is ESCR. I would like to project my screen here.
Sure, please go ahead.
It's disabled.
Yeah, give me one moment. I'll just allow you to. Yeah, please go ahead. I think you'll be able to share.
Yes. So this is the list of the cases. Around there are 70 cases which are there available on Supreme Court's website. So the viewers have to just go through all these cases very thoroughly and in a very deep manner to understand that what was the ratio, what was the issue involved, and to some extent you can just remember the year of these case laws. So what I was telling to the viewers is that they can access these case laws free of cost through ESCR.
ESCR.
Yes, small e, capital
Okay.
SCR. So this is Supreme Court reports.
All right, wonderful, great.
Is it visible screen?
Yes, we can see.
So say if I need to type the name of the case, say Balram Singh, then all words I will fill the captcha, search. So this is the list of the cases with similar names.
Great.
So if I just open this, so in this manner, the case law will open. Let me just share to you the case.
It'll be great if you could also help us to help our viewers understand, like, in case we open this case, तो अब इसमें आपको कौन सा area है, what is the modus, what is the obiter, and how the aspirants should, actually utilize the case, उसको पढ़ना कैसे, research कैसे करना है. That
Okay,
will
so
be very grateful. Yeah.
this is one example. Like it's a Balram Singh versus Union of India. It's on, rights of sewage workers that man to prohibit manual scavenging and how the states have to provide compensation to them. So you need to remember this is the citation. Now, one important thing is that recently Supreme Court has started using its neutral citation, that is INSC, Indian Supreme. Now, instead of SEC Online or Manupatra, Supreme Court has focused more and is trying to boost to utilize its new citation, that is INSC. Now they have to understand the viewers that this is the name of the case. Then these are the head notes. Very beautifully, very intelligently, the head notes have been compiled. From the issue, they can understand that what is the law involved and what is the question which the court is trying to answer. And now, in parts, the issue has been divided with the help of these head notes. Now, what was held by the Supreme Court is there. Similarly, another in brief part is this. Then what was held, how the Supreme Court interpreted, say Section 11 of this Act, Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers Act, how Section 11 was interpreted. Then again, this is again a ratio like insufficiency of service, etc. This is the law which was laid down. So in this manner, the aspirants can get hold of this case in a very short period of time and in a very intellectual manner. These are, some again certain things like, what all should be provided to the manual scavengers, protective gear, cleaning devices, etc. How the state should, compensate them. And this is a list of cases which are cited in this case law. And from here, the main judgment begins. So all the pages, around 5 to 6 pages, in these pages, instead of reading or going through 50 pages of the judgment, the viewers can just scroll through these 4 to 5 pages to understand the gist of the case, to understand that what the Supreme Court has held and how the issue at hand, that was this, it was resolved. So in this manner, it's, I mean, a very helpful way to assist all the viewers, regardless of whether they can afford subscription or not. These are the case laws which are provided free of cost on Supreme Court's website itself.
Wonderful. That is so insightful, Anurag, even for me, because instead of investing, because हमारे जितने भी aspirants हैं, they're all students, and we would really appreciate if we could save any amount. So this is absolutely free of cost. And within just जैसे अभी आपने बताया कि हम 5-6 पेजों के अंदर ही अपना इशू पढ़ा, किसका नाम पढ़ा, और उसके बाद we just stated that INSC, that's the endeavor made by the Honorable Supreme Court. And after reading the issue, then we have the head notes given to us, right? And after the head notes, we can just go to the ratio and we'll get the crux of the entire case. That's wonderful. So that's great. I'm sure it's going to have a lot of, this aspirants are going to really benefit out of this, right? And yes, so one part we have understood कि case laws कैसे पढ़ना है बच्चों को, how they should be going through the case law. And coming to the, I want to really know that what was your primary source of study? When you were preparing for the first part, आपने कहा कि जो objective questions हैं, वो तो हम अपने जो 5-year law में जो हमारा text books थे और जो MCQs हैं उसको हमने practice करना है. All right. So basically, the conceptual clarity should be there. Only then the students can, work through the MCQ part. But if we talk about the subjective paper, so what was your primary source of study?
Primary source was the sample question papers, which are again available free of cost on Supreme Court's website. Around
Okay.
5 to 6 years, but the previous question papers are available with part one, part two. Since part two has been recently introduced by Supreme Court, I think last 1 year. So previous year papers prior to 2024 will not be having part two as sample.
Okay.
So in this session itself, I will share and will try to help the viewers to prepare a brief with the help of that sample question paper itself. And
Mhm.
I can also share few SLPs with you on which I had worked and their draft brief as well, which you can circulate to larger, masses.
Great, great, great. Sorry. So in the second part, we understand that you mentioned that तीन skills जो है वो बहुत important है. Researching skill, analytical skill हो गया आपका और reasoning skill. So ये बताया कि बहुत important part है. And अभी आप हमें बताएंगे कि किस तरीके से हम पेशी या फिर जिसको हम कहते हैं your brief
Draft.
writing, right, and the memo drafting. So that you're going to share कि हम किस तरीके से हम उसको draft कर सकते हैं, the most easiest manner. And also you have practiced the PYQs.
Yes,
That was your source. That was your
yes.
source. So that's how the students also should currently, work on the PYQs. या उसके अलावा भी आप कुछ और suggest करेंगे? Like you would like to suggest something more.
See, try to, as far as answering an analytical question is concerned, so it's
Mhm.
on your general aspects of law. Like I just share my screen to make the viewers understand that
Mhm.
how and what sort of questions are there in paper in part two. So this is part two, question one. I'll come to this question one, but let me first go through analytical question first.
Right.
This. So this is question three. It's around 75 marks value. And out of these five, one has to be attempted. So if you see that the questions which are asked are on general law, like on interpretation of Article 21 in light of Menka Gandhi. So in this, they have to, show their comprehension, show their understanding of Article 21 and how the Supreme Court decided or started its jurisprudence from R.C. Cooper's case to Menka Gandhi's case. So similarly, like Jallikattu judgment, since I worked personally on this judgment, so it was like you can answer this question by stating or mentioning about animal rights. You can mention about customs, traditions, and link them with articles of constitution. Then there is Animal Welfare Board's judgment, a division bench judgment of Supreme Court, and how it went to Constitution bench judgment, and how Constitution bench decided this matter. So,
Right.
in this way, similarly, there are three more questions. So the aspirants can answer and can prepare for them like they prepare for their other exams, judicial exams. For drafting a research memo and for
So
drafting,
I have some open loops here, which I want you to, address, Anurag, before we go ahead. Like, अब ये तो questions हमको दिए हैं, तो आपने इसके लिए तैयारी कैसे किया? मतलब, how did you prepare? Did you refer to the case laws? Like, अब ये तो question था कि ठीक है, discuss the constitutionality of the Jallikattu, considering the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court. So there can be XYZ case, which probably the question would have. So how the students should be actually preparing?
so they can prepare it by remaining updated with whatever legal developments are happening. Like if you see this question number five, so it's on interfaith couples and marriage. It's a very recent topic. So if they are
Right.
aware that how the Supreme Court is viewing this entire matter, what sort of directions are passed by Supreme Court, so they have to be legally updated, like what is all happening in Supreme Court. And through I already mentioned through various there are newsletters, there are subscriptions, paid or unpaid also, which they can take help of. And then there is a list of case laws for especially exclusively for this exam and how they can take help of that list and go through those cases. So by and large, in this exam paper, out of that case laws list, generally the paper will not be out of that case laws. It will be from those case laws itself. And in addition to their awareness of legal updates and preparation of those case laws will be sufficient to answer this question.
अच्छा, ग्रेट. सो इन क्रक्स कि बच्चे जो है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट है और जो वहाँ पे उनको केस लिस्ट दी है, उस केस लिस्ट को एक तो बहुत अच्छे से वो लोग जो है उसका रीजनिंग और उन केसेस को अच्छे से पढ़ लें. एंड सेकेंडली, वॉट एवर इज हैपनिंग करंटली इन द ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट, जो भी जजमेंट्स आ रही हैं और जो भी लीगल अपडेट्स हैं, that they should be very well versed with for this area, this part 2 question number 3 के लिए, या in fact for the entire exam paper of Supreme Court clerkship, at least these two things are mandate that the aspirants should be doing. Right, Anurag?
And in addition to that, if they are finding it difficult to remain legally updated on the Supreme Court judgments, so if you see these questions, so all these five are linked to Constitution. So again,
Right.
they can narrow down their scope to focus only on the decisions which pertains to interpretation of articles in Constitution.
Wonderful. Okay. Yes. ठीक है. So that can be a smart manner of deciphering कि किस तरीके से तैयारी कर सकते हैं. So mainly focusing on Constitution, the articles of Indian Constitution. That's the area that we cannot miss. But apart from that, yes, it's always better to have a comprehensive knowledge about what's going on in the courts. Great. Thank you so much, Anurag. Yes, please go ahead.
And one more thing I would like to add here, that since they will be working in Supreme Court of India, uh, they will be working in Supreme Court of India. So the articles which are related to Supreme Court's jurisdiction and powers, they should be thorough with that also. Like the civil jurisdiction, the criminal jurisdiction, the writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court, and the decision of Supreme Court on those jurisdictions. So they should be thorough with that because that will help them in interview also.
Great, great. I'm sure our viewers would be taking a lot of notes because they are very छोटे छोटे टिप्स हैं, but बहुत important है कि जब आप केसेस पढ़ें और जो अपने लीगल अपडेट्स हैं उसमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को ना छोड़ें. And similarly, the jurisdictional aspect, as Anurag mentioned, that what is the original jurisdiction of the Honorable Supreme Court, civil jurisdiction, criminal jurisdiction, and also the writ jurisdiction. That's great. All right. Thank you so much. Yes, that's also adding a lot to our preparation. Yes.
So now I think I'll begin with the brief making aspect, the major thing of this entire whole gamut. So see, question one is brief preparation. Word limit is prescribed. Humble advice to the viewers to try to limit their answers to these word limits, not to exceed beyond that. So 750 words will be around 2 pages. Then similar thing is for research memo, maximum 2 pages, and answering analytical question, maximum 1.5 page. Try to not to exceed because you are preparing a brief. You are not preparing some analysis or deep answer something like that. So let's begin with first question, that is a brief preparation. So this will be like a paper book, like in the Supreme Court of India, civil appellate jurisdiction. So the key areas of this brief, I am dividing it into parts. Like first will be the SLP number. On the top left, you have to write the SLP number. Then below that, you have to write the name of the case, Skand S. Bhardwaj versus Union of India. You are not required to write the petitioner respondent because it is understood this versus this, so it's petitioner versus respondent. After writing the SLP number and the name of the case, the next aspect is to focus on the limitation period, that whether the SLP is filed within the period of limitation or not. So from the index, it's on page number 5. So let's come to that. This is the office report on limitation. Generally, what happens that when a case comes to Supreme Court, so its registry will analyze it, ensure that whether there are any defects or not, whether it's within time or not. So this is the official report which the branch officer, as you can see also here, provides. So we can see that the petition is within time, so there is no delay. We have to mention this aspect also. Now we move to the 4 major components of the brief. First is the brief facts, wherein we will narrate about the entire scenario and how the courts below Supreme Court has decided the matter of the petitioner. Thereafter, we will move to the impugned judgment, wherein we will talk about the view of the High Court and why the petitioner has challenged it will be in the grounds for SLP. If aspirants deems it fit and necessary, and if the time permits, so they can also write a question of law also, because whenever you are filing a writ petition, be it in High Court or Supreme Court, there has to be a question of law. So in a brief also, you can write about it, or if time is not there, so you can skip also. But advice is to write it. So generally what majority of the candidates do is that from the synopsis and list of dates, which is given on page number 8, they try to write their brief, which is not the correct approach. Because although these are not bad, but sometimes very rarely what happens that whatever the SLP in its synopsis and list of dates mentions, sometimes it comes out to be different from what the High Court has held. So my advice is to always write their brief facts and the impugned judgment from the impugned judgment itself. It's on, let's come to the index. It's on page number 11. Let's come to that. Here. So this is High Court of Karnataka. Now here you can see that the petitioner, the appellant is Union of India and respondent is Kand Bhardwaj. So the viewers has to ensure that please don't get confused with respect to the terminology used for the parties. The person who is a petitioner before Supreme Court, he was a respondent before High Court. So you will write him as a petitioner only, even if you are, writing the brief facts or the impugned judgment. So we come to this aspect. This is a writ appeal. Okay, we have to look whether it is a writ petition, whether it is a writ appeal, whether it is any other sort of proceeding. So you can get it from first line itself that this is a writ appeal in the High Court, which is filed by the respondent, that is Union of India. Okay, so we will look for the brief facts. I have mentioned here the brief facts are that you can write that the petitioner was appointed as constable in CISF on this date. Then on this date, at a roll call, he did some acts of indiscipline. He also abused his superior, a sub-inspector, in filthy language and also attacked another sub-inspector. Okay. Now, what happened next? This will be your first point, that he was appointed. He did some acts of indiscipline. The second point in your brief will be that a complaint was filed against him and a charge sheet was filed against him under these sections. Okay. Now, after mentioning the second point, you will come to the third. Third point will be that during the pendency of criminal proceedings, departmental inquiry was initiated against him and memorandum of articles of charges was handed over to him on this date. So this will be our third point. Then you will mention that he filed his reply, but despite that, he was removed from his service with immediate effect on this date, 29th May 2006. He was removed from the service. Now your fourth point will be he filed an appeal, it was dismissed. He filed a revision, it was rejected. He filed another writ petition. He filed a writ petition, but since it was incomplete, he withdrew the said writ petition. Then he filed again another writ petition. So this is the chronology. First, departmental inquiry was initiated against him. He was removed from the service. He challenged it in appeal. It was dismissed. He challenged it in revision. It was rejected. He filed a writ petition, then withdrew it. He filed another writ petition. Now, in this writ petition, the single judge partly allowed his writ petition and directed that he should be reinstated to his service and his increments should be withheld. Now, against this writ petitions, decision, the Union of India, that is the respondent before us, challenged it in writ appeal. Okay, so this is your brief facts from his appointment till the decision of single judge in writ petition. Now, there is always a paragraph which will mention or talk about the arguments of learned counsels. You can read through that. Otherwise, if there is no time, avoid it because it's not as much required in writing a brief, especially in exam. But when you are writing brief as a law clerk, do read about these arguments because you will also understand the art of argument, not only by just sitting in the court, but also reading through these judgments. So after writing the brief facts, the next heading will be of impugned judgment, the second part of our brief. In impugned judgment, you can generally find the ratio of the High Court's judgment in the last few paras. You can see here that the reasons for reinstatement of the petitioner, they were neither relevant nor germane. Secondly, during his short span of service of 8 years, he was found guilty of misconduct 3 times. Third reasoning of the High Court was that only if required or only in very disproportionate cases, the High Court should interfere and exercise its power under Article 226. So basis this reasoning, the High Court in its impugned judgment reversed the decision of single judge and decided this writ petition in favor of Union of India. Now, against this impugned judgment, the petitioner, that is Skand Bhardwaj, has filed this present essay. So I hope I am able to make sense up till now.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is so much insightful, and I feel that the subjective component of this exam plays a very crucial role. and you're walking us through it so minutely. It's a lot to consider for us. Please continue, Anurag. Thank you.
So now comes the SLP filed by Skandaraj Bharadwaj. So we will come directly to the question of law. So here is the question of law which I was talking about. Try to write at least one question. If required, you can write both of them, rephrase them in your own language, right? Now comes the grounds on which the petitioner is challenging the High Court's judgment. So my advice is to limit our grounds to three. Like first 3 to 4 grounds will be the main uh, grounds which we are in. The substantive part of challenge will be there. So the first ground is that although the proceedings were criminal case was against more individuals, but departmental inquiry was initiated against the petitioner only. So he was discriminated. He was subjected to discrimination. This will be his first ground. Second ground was that the entire case of respondents was false and concocted, right? And the third and the last ground is that the offense with which he is alleged were not proved, he was acquitted, and that nothing was proved by the respondent. So in this way, your SLP number, your case name, your limitation period, then the brief facts, impugned judgment, question of law, and the grounds. This has to be summarized, within 2 pages at the max. So in this way, you can prepare the brief. I'll just share a model brief which I have prepared for this, petition itself.
We truly appreciate your effort that you have invested in explaining our viewers your journey and your experience. Thank you, Anurag. So, yeah, please.
So this is the model brief. Like here, you can see the SLP number, then the case name, delay, there is no delay, then brief facts. Always be particular about certain dates, right? That on which date he was reprimanded, on which date he was removed. Okay, then dates will not matter much. Then the decisions of the courts below the Supreme Court will come into picture. Like his appeal revision were rejected, then single judge modified the punishment. So till there, this is the brief facts. Now we come to the impugned judgment. So in impugned judgment, always try to mention this to make the honorable judge understand in a very split second that what is it all about. Allowed writ appeal of the respondent. So from there you can see that the respondents were in writ appeal before the High Court, and the High Court decided in their favor. That's why the petitioner is before the Supreme. Now, what is the reasoning of the High Court? That disciplinary proceedings were properly conducted. Single judge erred in modifying his punishment, and the court should not interfere with the punishment unless it is shockingly disproportionate. Very crisp, very brief. You have to showcase your skills there. How in a better manner you can comprehend how well you can draft the entire paper book of 50-60 pages into just 2 pages. Then these are the questions of law which I have rephrased in my own language, and then the grounds for SLP. That only the petitioner faced departmental proceedings. Departmental inquiry was unfair, and his penalty was rightly reduced by the judge because he was acquitted in the criminal. So this is, I think I have reduced it into 1 page only, but depending upon the facts, the quantum which is provided to you at the actual exam, you have to fix your limit accordingly, but not beyond 2 pages. Try to ensure that.
So it needs a lot of skill, I feel, and preparation is only as good as the resources that you rely on. So what is the, yes, so you need to have a very powerful resource. As you mentioned, कि आपने online platforms से काफी help लिया, and also the case list that has been shared by the Honorable Court. But apart from that, do you feel that, there is any other material that you found particularly to be very, very helpful during your preparation? Because yes, this needs a lot of effort and also a practice. You just can't go raw for the exam.
Yes, so as I already mentioned that as much MCQs as possible for part 1, and for part 2, practice sample question papers which are available on the Supreme Court's website. And I think that in markets also now this exam is taking a is now it's booming. So I think preparatory books on this exam are available also in the market of leading publishers. And obviously I can share few draft SLPs with you, Kritika ji, and their model briefs which you can circulate to your viewers.
We'll upload them on our app, and viewers can download our app, that is EJLA Law Academy, and can get access to it. Thank you so much for that, Anurag. I'm sure it's going to be very, very insightful for the students as well. And how much time did you invest in the preparation? Was it your first attempt, or were you giving it like couple of attempts आपने दिए उसके बाद आपका ये you were able to make it?
So my first attempt was immediately after my undergraduation. That was in 2019, but
One.
I could not clear it. So next time when this exam happened, because COVID came in 2020, so it was deferred. In 21, it came in April, and thankfully I cleared it with flying colors. And then interview took place in September. So three honorable sitting judges took my interview, and then in November the list was prepared of the panel, and I was in from
Great.
2021. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So it has been like not too much of a long slogging journey. So what was it like, जो आपने पहला attempt दिया उसमें क्या कमी थी और या तो उसमें क्या आपको लगा कि what made you crack it and what made you qualify this exam?
As far as my first attempt was concerned, so in the first attempt, I mean, I did not practice much of the MCQs, and
Right.
I was also not prepared for the very well for the interview, and that is why I am focusing and stressing more on practice. That practice as much as possible, as many MCQs as possible from your wonderful material which you also provide, and also whatever is available in the market. In addition to that, just polish your skills, your comprehensive skills that you within minimum number of time you have to present it to the honorable judge. You have to think in that manner, and then you can attempt your part 2 paper.
Great, great. And also because, I feel that viewers also should know about कि इसके apart from the perks and the privileges of, getting an opportunity to work with honorable judges, and there's so much to learn. But what other monetary perks are with the comes with this job? Yeah.
So, as you all know, that the remuneration is quite handsome. That is 80,000 per month, and one has to be a law clerk for at least an year. Only then, thereafter, you can get an experience certificate from the Supreme Court.
Right,
Minimum
great.
1 year you have to be there, and it's like a contractual thing. So it will be for 6 months. After 6 months, it will be again renewed. Then for 6 months, it works like this. So as far as the perks are concerned, so once you have done this clerkship, so you can obtain a letter of recommendation from the honorable judge. Say majority of the law clerks after their clerkship, they pursue masters from abroad. So there, this LOR will be of very great help. In similar manner, those who are preparing for judicial service exams, so during their law clerkship, they can get help on judgment writing, and also they can remain updated on whatever jurisprudence is happening in the country. After clerkship, if fortunately they clear till interview stage, then this law clerkship will also does have an impact on the panel of interviewers also. Like, okay, the candidate has worked with the honorable Supreme Court judge, so automatically that thing comes in that this person is having good research skill, analytical skills, and drafting skills. That's why he worked as a law clerk. So apart from judicial service and masters, you can also practice with a senior in the Supreme Court immediately, because you have been a law clerk to a judge. So you will be picked up immediately for
Great.
those who want to work in litigation, and also those who want to prepare for advocates on record exam. So for AOR exam, 5 years of practice is required. So that will again beneficial for those persons who work as a law clerk.
Wow, that's tremendous. So that's a continued engagement, I would say, that candidate can enjoy after qualifying this exam. So that's wonderful. ठीक है. So अनुराग जो बाकी का aspect है subjective paper का, I think we'll cover that as well. But because students should know कि what is coming their way. अभी हम इतना डिस्कस कर रहे हैं और हम जिस एग्जाम की प्रेपरेशन कर रहे हैं, so this part will definitely give them a boost that yes, it comes with a handsome salary, and also apart from that, so much avenues and so much opportunities are coming their way after they qualify this exam. I'm sure you also must be enjoying those privileges.
Yes, sitting in court and on daily basis, I used to see the senior advocates arguing the major substantial, case laws are being decided on daily basis. A lot I can, see networking is there, and a lot of learning is also there when you sit in the Supreme Court.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we'll continue with the subjective component of this exam. and you've just shared about brief drafting, and now we'll continue with the remaining part, please.
Okay. So
Thank you.
second question is on research memo preparation. So let's come to this question. And I would like to tell here that the second paper, this one, the question paper will be displayed on the screen and the candidates will be given pen and paper. So they have to write their answers on piece of paper. First one is online, second is offline.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So
offline would be at a some
same place.
same place. Okay. Online also there's some center that you'll have to go. All right. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the second question. So in this manner, a 1 or 2 pager facts will be provided. After providing the facts, you will be required to provide your opinion. That in this, I'm telling you that what happened in this case was that some women employees were there. So some office order was passed by their employer, whereby stringent and very rigid working times were imposed upon them, their leaves were reduced, and certain other things were there. So they felt that they have been discriminated against, especially the women employees who are the caregivers. So that's why they have now come to you, to the aspirant, that what sort of advice you will give to them, and under what law, what everything you have to just provide. So again, this research memo is divided into parts. First, you will talk about the brief facts, the introduction. You have to showcase your understanding that this topic is this memo or these facts are about this topic. So here it's about discrimination and inequality. After discussing brief facts, you will talk about the issues that are involved. After issues, the law that is involved. So as far as law is concerned, so it's here. It's Constitution of India. Its relevant articles are provided. Right to equality is there. Then Article 21, and then High Court's power under 226 is also there, right? So you will explain the law that is involved. In addition to certain Supreme Court judgments will be provided in this research memo question. Like there is one this judgment, its relevant paras will be there. So you have to analyze and ascertain very quickly because at least 2 to 3 pages of around 3 to 4 judgments will be there. So 10 to 15 you will have to read. So you have to be very quick. Like you can see here itself. Then another judgment of Delhi High Court is there, again on women laws and right to equality. Then again Delhi High Court judgment is there. And I think that's it. 3 judgments are provided. Yeah. So this is the law which is involved. After you write the law involved, you have to showcase your understanding that what will be the piece of advice which you will give to these women employees. So your piece of advice will include that first of all, they can either go for question of that office order under 226 before the High Court, or they can see if there are several women employees, so they can file a PIL directly in the High Court. And the final piece of advice will be that before doing all this, before going to the court, they can engage in internal negotiations with the employer. Only when the negotiations fail that they can move to the High Court. I will just share the brief research memo answer which I have prepared here. So this will be a brief introduction, showcase that whatever you have understood in few lines. After this, what are the law involved, the issues involved? Article 14 was there, mention just few cases, okay? And that try to connect it with the facts that the 8 a.m. mandatory reporting time was there, flexible shifts were not there, disproportionately burdened women, violates their equality right. Then similarly, Article 15 to prohibit discrimination. Then again, Article 19(1)(g), their right to practice a profession. This is an add-on. Like you have to showcase your skills that, okay, I know certain things which are beyond the question. So that is Article 19(1)(g) to practice their profession, trade or occupation, right? Then Article 21 is there. Right to life and personal liberty is there granted by this article. Then in 2 to 3 cases mentioned that what is the view of the Supreme Court. You can take help of those case laws also which are provided in the question paper itself. And then your remedies which are available to them. They can file a writ petition in High Court to quash the office order. They can file a PIL. Okay. And the final piece of advice will be this conclusion. engage in internal negotiations. If they fail, file a resignation. And you can also, if you are providing someone an advice, so you will also provide your reasoning that why you should challenge this order in High Court, why you should, go for PIM. So you can mention that likelihood of success in the court is there. Your claim on constitutional grounds is very strong. Or you can also consider other strategic considerations like internal negotiations. So in this way, I think this brief, mine, it exceeded certain word limit of 750. So try to limit your research memo answer to 2 pages of 750 words. So in this way, you can answer that research memo question.
Great. So, Anurag, that was like too much of add-on. And if agar hum unko pointers mein yaad rakhe, so that the viewers can just quickly note down that what Anurag has just now shared with respect to brief research memo, कि सबसे पहली चीज थी कि this is going to be on a piece of paper. So you all have to draft it on a piece of paper. That's the first very important information. Second is that he has given us very briefly in 4 pointers. 4 पॉइंट्स हैं जिनको आपने याद रखना है. सबसे पहला इंट्रो पार्ट, उसमें आपने इंट्रोड्यूस करना है. सेकंड इज द प्रोविजंस, द लीगल लॉ, द लीगल ग्राउंड्स, और जो भी आपका जो लॉ इन्वॉल्व है उसके ऊपर आपने जितने भी प्रोविजंस हैं उनको आपने एक्सप्लेन करना है. और उसमें आप कुछ एक नगेट भी डाल सकते हो. यू कैन गो बियॉन्ड एंड यू कैन ऐड अ नगेट. So the second point all of you can note down is the law involved. First is the introduction. And then the third part is the remedies that you're suggesting. So the remedies में आप जो remedies suggest कर रहे हो, आपने उनको briefly explain करना है. And finally the conclusion where you're going to give the final piece of advice. So ये 4 चीजें आपने mind में रखनी है और उन्हीं को elaborate करना है, उन्हीं पे ही आपने dwell करना है and practice करना है. I'm sure that it's going to help you. And he has also wonderfully explained that it has to be, put down into 2 papers, right? Which would be around 750 words. So आप क्या कर सकते हैं, आप अपनी एक लाइन में देखिए आपकी एक लाइन में कितने words आते हैं. Some students would write 8 words, some would write 9 words, and accordingly you can see कि आपका कितना paper consume होगा. But fairly it should be around 2 pages. That's what Anurag has suggested. So that is, a lot of insights, and I'm sure that the viewers are absolutely benefiting out of it. We are absolutely grateful to you, Anurag, for this crisp remedies and crisp method of our preparation and the strategies that you have just now shared. Yes, so please continue. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, please. Yeah.
So now we come to the last question, that is analytical question.
All right.
So this is here. I think I have already discussed about it initially. So these are the 5 questions which will be given, and they have to answer. So advice to the viewers is that try to focus on constitution, because you will be working in constitutional court of the land. So you need to be thorough with the constitutional main provisions, like Supreme Court being the court of record, powers of Supreme Court, how the judges are appointed, and various reviews of the Supreme Court. Like there were 3 or 4 judges case. Then there were cases on evolution of jurisprudence on various aspects, like right to property or various fundamental rights. Could be with respect to environment law also, right? And it can be also regarding evolution of tribunals. Could be an add-on in the question paper. So with this, we I think come to the end of part 1 and part 2 and of stage 1. And those candidates who qualify these 2 parts will be called for interview. And in interview, just focus majorly on your CV and also remain updated with the help of the various search engines which are available on the internet.
So that's I would say that clearing this exam is a milestone in one's in an aspirant who is pursuing law and has already completed his law. तो एक milestone है आपके in the journey of an advocate, right? And also serving as a Supreme Court clerk is, I feel, is a very prestigious and a very transformative experience. That's what I understand. And you have briefed it so well. And if you want to just sum up in few words, like, what would be your key takeaway from this entire journey as serving as a Supreme Court clerk?
Okay.
Yes.
So see, to all the viewers, that this is not just a job. It's an unparalleled privilege, which is being availed by only handful of individuals. Because you see, how many Supreme Court judges are there? 34, 35. And with each Supreme Court judge, max to max 4 to 5 will be the law clerks. Around 150 will be the maximum number. So that is in itself a privilege. In addition to this, those individuals, those aspirants who could not be, attached with a judge, so they will be sent to the reserve pool of Supreme Court research wing. I mean, apart from being attached to the judge, a law clerk can work also in the research wing of Supreme Court. But advice will be to get attached to the honorable judge, because see, there you will be working with the finest legal minds of this country. You will be working on the development of jurisprudence behind the curtains, behind scenes. Because I remember that while I was a lawyer, I worked on several landmark judgments on juvenile justice, on animal rights, the Jallikattu one, and election law, even IBC, and other various laws. So, walking through the grand halls of Supreme Court, where history is being written on daily basis, is in itself an experience which can be felt, and that aura of a law clerk can be felt only by the person who is there as a law clerk. So, this is something which is a very amazing, full of satisfaction job. Just focus on whatever is there before you, give your best, all put your all efforts in this exam to all the viewers. And one more thing is that I was so much influenced, by this job and by the honorable judge's work, that I have recently authored a book on Justice
Wow,
Anirudh Nilay's
wonderful.
judgments. What he has authored the judgments as a Supreme Court judge, and I have picked up 15 of them, and I have done a socio-economic analysis of those judgments, and it's, I think, available now in the market on online platforms, Amazon, Flipkart, etc. And publisher is none other than Universal Law House, and forward
Wow,
is written by Justice Sanjay Kumar. He is sitting
great.
judge of Supreme Court.
So heartiest congratulations for that, Anurag. And I'm sure कि ये सब चीजें आपको, you must be motivated when you are in that kind of proximity with, such judges and such people around you. And that gives you a push to do such work. So that's amazing and it's wonderful to know. And the session has been incredibly insightful, I would say. Right. And right from the exam strategies to the real world experiences of a law clerk, you have shared it in detail, and we have covered all of it. So a big thank you for sparing that valuable time with us today, and your insights and depth, I'm sure the viewers are going to benefit out of it. And we appreciate the thoughtful way that you have shared the journey with us. And while you have reviewed the entire journey very, very carefully, and we will be in touch with you soon regarding the next steps as well. And once again, thank you for your time and the meaningful discussion today that we have had. And thank you, viewers, for being here with us. For all the PDFs that Anurag has shared, we can upload them on our app. So the students can download our app, that is EJLA Academy, and get access to it. If you have any query, you can also come up with your query in the app itself, and we will address it for you. Thank you so much. God bless. Take care.
Thank you, Kritika.